watching ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Boy, they are wheel to wheel once again all the way through the corner.
You know, it ran across your mind once in a while that if somebody messes up, we're going to have a big shunt here, no doubt.
Oh, wow.
I know people that said that they stood up the whole race in their living rooms, not being able to sit down. I know people that said they were watching with one eye closed and the other because I thought, here we go, there goes a big one.
A half a lap to go. McGee and Scott Sharp battle for the lead.
I had calls from Europe, Canada, and the States going, wow, this is neat.
Today, the IRL returns to Texas for the final race of the season, with everyone chasing Buddy Lazier.
From the beginning of this season, I have been locking horns with Buddy Lazier.
By no means do we have this clinched.
Lazier to the inside and Goodyear to the outside, and Lazier is going to take the lead back at least momentarily.
If we can do what we have to do, then the pressure's on Buddy.
It's down now between 3 people, and I mean, this championship could be snatched from us.
A champion is crowned. Next. From Texas Motor Speedway, ABC Sports welcomes you to the final race of the 2000 Indy Racing Northern Lights Series, the Excite 500. What began on Saturday, January 29th at Walt Disney World Speedway in Orlando, Florida, has come down to this: a 3-way battle for the Northern Light Cup and a $1 million bonus. There are a maximum of 52 points available in today's race. The contenders: Eddie Cheever Jr., who has 1 win and 6 top 10s. He's 3rd in points. Scott Goodyear hasn't won yet this year, but consistency in a second-best qualifying effort yesterday has moved him to within 36 points of the leader, Buddy Lazier, who has 2 wins this year and can wrap up the title with a finish of 14th or better. Hi, everyone. I'm Bob Jenkins, along with former Indy 500 winner Tom Sneva. Not only is he a former Indy 500 winner, but a 2-time national champion. So you know, Tom, what's going through the minds of these 3 contenders.
Well, they talk about mindset. I think helmet. That's what you set your mind in when you set in that race car. For 2 of the guys, it's pretty simple. They've got to go to the front and stay there. For Buddy Lazier, well, the math's pretty simple. Let's see, it's $100,000 to win the race. It's $1 million for the championship. No matter what he says, there's going to be some conservative thoughts creeping into that psychic as this race develops.
Well, let's take a look at the starting lineup for today's race. Greg Ray has won his 9th pole, making him the all-time pole winner in the series. Scott Goodyear hopes for the championship. Row 2, Jeff Ward and Al Unser Jr., the best starting position of his IRL career. Row 3, the Orlando winner Robbie Buell and series points leader Buddy Lazier. In the 4th row, Davey Hamilton driving for a new team. Alongside will be Robbie Mcgee. Starting 9th, Tice Carlson, and the other title contender, Eddie Cheever Jr. Row number 6, Mark Dismore, the defending champion of this race, and Jacques Lazier. 7th row, Sarah Fisher, who began her IRL career here a year ago, and another rookie, Jarrett Schroeder. Starting 15th and 16th, Shigeki Aktori and Ronnie Beechler, 8th in the point standings. Row 9, former series co-champion Buzz Calkins and freshman Sam Hornish. 10th row, rookie points leader Ayrton Dare and Jimmy Kite. The 11th row, Eliseo Salazar, and a former winner here, Billy Boat. Starting 23rd, Stephen Gregoire. 24th, Scott Sharp. In the 13th row, Zach Morioka and Stevie Reeves. And in the 14th row, J.J. Yaley. Jack Arute is one of our 2 pit reporters this afternoon. Jack?
Bob, there was no pre-race meeting. There was no inspirational talk for Buddy Lazier and his crew. In fact, they say they've done everything absolutely exactly the way they've done in the previous 8 races. But there is one change, Vince Welch. All around their pits are these buttons that say racing for $1 million.
Scott Goodyear and Eddie Cheever would like to have that bonus as well. They're going to be keeping their eye on each other on the racetrack, but they're also going to be keeping their eye on one another in the pit lane. Buddy Lazier is in the 1st pit box, Scott Goodyear is in the 2nd pit box, and Eddie Cheever is in the 3rd pit box. So not only will they keep an eye on 91 on the track, but also keeping an eye on each team right here in the pit lane. No mistakes can be made in this area today. It could cost that team the championship. Bob Jenkins?
The 2000 campaign is almost over. One of 3 will end the day as champion. We asked all 3, what will it take to win the title?
For me to win the championship, I have to have a perfect race. No mistakes. No mistakes in the pits. And Buddy has to have problems. And Scott has to have problems. And all I can control is what I can do.
I think, you know, today, starting 2nd to win the championship, we have to win the race today. And depending, obviously, where Buddy finishes and where Eddie finishes. But right now, our goals are to go out there and run as hard as we can and win. We'll see what happens.
We've got to have a mistake-free day. We don't need to win the race as much as it would be nice to win the race. We refuse to accept the fact that we've won this championship until we win it, until the checkered flag drops.
There is a lot on the line here today. We hope for a race similar to what we had in June. The, without doubt, best race ever in the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series. Certainly the closest finish is Scott Sharp beat Robbie Mcgee by 59 thousandths of a second. 208 laps of racing as we decide the champion for the 2000 Indy Racing Northern Lights Series, and the green is out. Greg Ray, the pole sitter, with a very slow start as Scott Goodyear goes to the front. And remember, he needs to win the race and lead the most points to get maximum points today. That's his only hope of winning the championship. Now, the title contenders have fluorescent orange on their roll bars and on their wings on the rear and the front of the car. That's how you can tell them. But going for the lead right now is Al Unser Jr. He's on top of Scott Goodyear.
What's a little surprising is Greg Ray dropped back quite a bit, Bob, at the start of this race. He dominated practice and qualifying.
Ooh, a big wiggle from Scott Goodyear, and he was right there close with Buddy Lazier as the points leader now comes up to move side by side with Goodyear for second.
I'll tell you one thing, the conservative thoughts haven't exactly creeped into that psychic yet for Buddy Lazier.
Vince, an update on Scott Goodyear.
Scott did not like the way the race motor ran in yesterday's final practice, so they made a motor change late last night, and Goodyear was nervous about it this morning before the race. Team owner John Barnes smiled about it, though, and said it's just a 208-lap leak check. I bet Scott doesn't feel that way.
Well, these three drivers have moved out ahead of the rest of the field. Actually, Al Unser Jr. now has about a half-second advantage on this battle for second place, and it involves first and second in the point standings. Lazier now on the high side of the racetrack goes for second place around Goodyear.
Well, that was a little bit of a gamble to change the race motor without having any laps on it and start that race fresh, because these cars are so sensitive to setup that he might need that pit stop to make an adjustment handling-wise to get that car back where he likes it.
Running back in fourth position is Robbie Mcgee, and then Mark Dismore. Down to Jackaroo.
Well, you wonder why Greg Ray may have backed off. It's not by design. The telemetry that the Menard team is receiving on pit road shows that they have some concerns in the engine compartment. They're trying to diagnostic it right now, but they're not smiling down here in Team Menard.
Well, there you saw the group of cars that are racing the way we saw in the first race here at Texas Motor Speedway. But everybody now is getting spread out as we have completed 6 laps here. Al Unser Jr. remains the leader. That's Sarah Fisher battling to the back of Greg Ray. We're on board with Jeff Ward for the A.J. Foyt team. Now on board with Mark Dismore. That is Jacques Lazier up ahead there. Jacques driving for Team Extreme here this weekend and doing a nice job so far. Robbie Buell moving to the inside of Tice Carlson in that all-blue car. Tice is running back in 7th position. And there are the drivers that have advanced their position. And we understand that Sam Hornish in the Uniden Bearcat Scanners car is smoking, and one of the top rookie candidates who ran so well at Kentucky is apparently going to drop out of this race very, very early.
They've had a lot of motor problems throughout the weekend, and I was talking to Butch Meyer, Greg Ray's engine builder, and he said, hey, these motors at 3.5 liters are pretty bulletproof. It's just a matter of how you tune them up. You try to lean them down to make horsepower, sometimes you can cause heat, and that hurts the reliability.
Short lap 10.
Al Unser Jr. leads this race. Now, he is carrying the Dracula paint scheme, part of Action Performance and Universal Studios' Monsters of the Speedway program, featuring Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, and the Mummy. You'll also see that paint scheme on some of the cars in NASCAR and the NHRA. Once again, there is second and third position, Lazier and Goodyear.
Well, Well, Goodyear is caught back up. You know, he's just feeling the car out, but he feels more comfortable now. He's got adjustments in the car that he can change the handling characteristics, both with the sway bars and a weight jacker. So maybe he's adjusted a little bit and got the balance a little closer to his liking, Bob.
Now, whenever the onboard radio is heard up in the upper right portion of your screen, you will see who it is. Now, a couple of drivers are having all kinds of problems here at the start of the race. Greg Ray and Jeff Ward, who started first and third, are running 24th and 25th, respectively, at this time.
Well, and Ward, being in the Foyt camp, that's one of the teams that's had a lot of motor problems this weekend. So it looks like their luck continues.
11 laps have been completed. Al Unser Jr. leads over Buddy Lazier and Scott Goodyear by about 2 seconds. Robbie Mcgee and Jacques Lazier complete the top 5. Back at Texas Motor Speedway, there you see Eddie Cheever moving to the inside of Robbie Buell, and Cheever is trying for the 5th position here. Al Unser Jr. still leads. Buddy Lazier second. Scott Goodyear third, and Robbie Mcgee is in 4th position. And now this side-by-side battle for 5th between one of the title contenders, Eddie Cheever, there in the gray car, and Robbie Buell, who won the opener at Orlando earlier this year. The story, however, here in the first 17 laps of this race is the pole sitter, Greg Ray. He fell a lap down and now is sitting on pit road. So the defending champion of the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series, who has had problems all year long, is certainly not ending the season the way he had hoped to.
And Bob, you were wondering before we went to break what the problem was on Jeff Ward's car. Well, it's not an engine. They put the car into 6th gear, and it just won't pull. There's no power. So I think it's a combination, Tom Sneva. Let's check in with Vince Welch.
Greg Ray and Team Menard made an unscheduled engine change after the final practice yesterday after some concerning oil pressure readings. They had wanted to go with the same engine throughout practice, qualifying, and the race as they had the 2 previous events, but that was not able to be accomplished today. So they were a little leery of this motor. Whether or not it's a motor problem now or not, we don't know, but they were leery of this motor coming in today.
Despite the fact that Greg Ray is 11th in the point standings, he had, going into this event, led the most laps in the series, 299, but he won't lead any today. Now we have a much tighter battle up front as Buddy Lazier has caught up to within just a few car lengths of Al Unser Jr.
Well, again, it's pretty surprising, but one way to be conservative in racing is go to the front. If you get caught in the middle of the pack, like Lazier could have been if he was real conservative, you're exposed to a lot of potential problems, Bob. But by running in the front, your exposure is way down.
And how much of a head game is being played? Did Buddy want to go to the front as early as possible and say, guys, if I'm going to lose this championship, you're going to have to take it from me?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I think Buddy might be a little bit surprised that the race pace isn't a little quicker than it is, and he just got there by doing his normal stuff. Buddy, by nature, is not very conservative, Bob, and trying to hold the reins back in is a little bit tough for Buddy.
Well, after 4 consecutive defeats at the hands of the Titans, the Jaguars are looking for revenge. Can Jacksonville break the spell, or will Steve McNair and Tennessee continue to dominate? Monday Night Football live at 9 Eastern and 6 Pacific, Monday on ABC. There you see again the top 3, Al Unser Jr., Buddy Lazier, and Scott Goodyear, as 23 laps has been completed. Well, let's go down to Jack and get more on the Greg Ray story.
John Menard, they've taken the cowling off. What is the problem?
Well, we got one cylinder that's dead. We don't know why yet, but you know, obviously it's a big disappointment.
Well, that spells DNF in my mind. Let's check with Vince Welch.
Just as Tom Sneva reported that Buddy might have thought it would be a quicker race pace, that is indeed the case. Team manager Lee Kunzman said, we're surprised. We thought it would be at least a mile an hour quicker than what it is, so we're going to run in the front until somebody can catch us.
Well, the fastest car on the racetrack last lap was Scott Goodyear at 212.331. Everybody running in the 211, 212 range. So that's what we're dealing with at this time.
Well, and if you follow him around on the in-car, look how little he has to, little steering input that he has to put in that car to get around this racetrack. I mean, the racetrack, he's changing directions by 180 degrees from one end to the other, and it's 5, 6, 7 degrees is all he has to move that steering wheel, Bob.
And now the leaders come up on the slower traffic. J.J. Yaley is ahead in the WorldBestBuy.com car. Stevie Reeves is just ahead of him. They're about to go a lap down, running in 23rd and in 24th. And now Jack Arute is with Sam Hornish.
A very disappointed young man, because Sam, after Kentucky, you really felt like this was going to be the place for you to shine.
Yeah, we really thought that we were going to do well here. You know, we're not really sure what happened with the car yet, something motor related. We're coming up to the start and I hit the bump in 4 when I was shifting gears and caught a little bit of an over rev, but not sure if it was that or not. But I mean, we had a quick car, we went to the front, you know, I recovered from that. We went to the front real quick and the car was working good everywhere, so a little bit disappointing, but I mean, the guys put a great car underneath me. PDM Racing has done so much for me this year, and
all right, thanks, Sam. This is a fella, guys, that you're going to see running to the front a lot in his career.
And now first, second, and third are very, very close over in turn number 4. Here they come through the corner onto the quad oval, and we're on board with Scott Goodyear, but up ahead, Buddy Lazier looks to the outside of Al Unser Jr., who's the leader and is leading for the first time since he led here in June.
And Al Unser Jr. is driving just a little bit gingerly, fellas, because they're seeing some pressures in the right rear tire that they don't like. They've alerted Al to that based upon the telemetry and said, just use your head.
I thought it was that Dracula cape causing more drag than he needed, Bob.
He's been dressed in the cape all weekend. In fact, was when he was introduced here to the spectators before this race.
Outside.
Side-by-side battle.
Still there. Clear.
Scott Goodyear takes second from Lazier, but Lazier comes back on the outside.
Well, I don't think Buddy's going to force anything at this early stage of the race. He's just going to coast along here and see how it blends.
The race is 208 laps. We have completed 31 at Texas Motor Speedway in the finale of the Indy Racing Northern Light Series. Bob Jenkins, Tom Sneeder, Jack Arute, and Vince Welch back with you at Texas Motor Speedway. The finale of the 2000 Indy Racing Northern Light Series. There's first, second, and third. They're right together, so close you could throw a blanket over them. And now Scott Goodyear has thoughts apparently of taking over the lead from Al Unser Jr., who has led all the way so far.
Well, Scott, in that yellow Pennzoil car, he needs to get to the front, Bob. There's points for leading the most laps, and that's one of his goals today, is to try to lead all the laps he can. He needs every point he can get.
Bright sunshine now over Texas Motor Speedway. There is, however, the possibility of some showers they've been calling, and Al Unser Jr. falls back to third position as Lazier takes second. They've been calling for showers all weekend here northwest of Fort Worth. We haven't seen any yet. Right now we have some partly cloudy skies and hope that they will stay with us for the next couple of hours and we can get this thing completed. And now the battle is up front between two of the title contenders. Goodyear, second in points, has the lead, but Buddy Lazier, with whom we ride, is coming up through the backstretch. ABC Sports welcomes you to the final race of the 2000 Indy Racing Northern Light Series. Scott Goodyear now has the lead with Buddy Lazier running in second spot, and Al Unser Jr., who led for 32 laps, has fallen to third.
Well, just a minute ago, Buddy was just all over the back end of Goodyear's car, Bob, and it surprised me a little bit that he was that much up on his haunches this early in the race.
The average speed so far of the event, 210.310 miles an hour. As the leader, Scott Goodyear, that past lap turned to 211.3, but Al Unser Jr. actually had the fastest lap at 212.3 miles an hour. Some pretty good battles going on back here in the middle of the pack. Eddie Cheever is in this group of cars, along with Robbie Buell. Robbie Mcgee is back there. So is Scott Sharp, who has charged up from his 24th starting position to 7th. Jacques Lazier is also in this group of cars, along with Jarrett Schroeder and Mark Dismore.
Well, you can see Cheever and Buell right there together. That's both the Infinity-powered cars, the only two Infinity-powered cars in the race, and they're running very equally at this point.
Back up front, meanwhile, it is Buddy Lazier now chasing Scott Goodyear, but closing in to within about a car length. There are the other drivers that are battling for position. There are battles all over the racetrack. We go back up front and see if Buddy can mount a charge here down the backstretch once again. It's already known that Scott Goodyear will not be back with the Pennzoil Panther team in 2001. Where is he going? He doesn't know. He did receive an offer from Eddie Cheever to come drive for him next year. Scott Goodyear says he wants to concentrate on the championship and think about that later.
Well, I can't believe, if you were on the radio conversation in Buddy's car, I would think that, you know, there'd be some conversation from the pit saying maybe just ride, Buddy, ride a little bit. But I don't think he's hearing that.
Tom, I just spoke with Ron Himmelgarn, the team owner, just a few moments ago and asked him if he was concerned that Buddy was up so close to Goodyear, and he said, no, not at all. Go for it. We want to win the race.
We understand that the leader, Scott Goodyear, will be pitting in 9 laps. Scott Goodyear is a former winner here at this racetrack. He won in June of last year.
And Bob, don't look for any changes on the setup for Scott Goodyear and the Pennzoil Panther. They feel, I talked to Rocket Blanche, and he said, he's the crew chief, says the car is perfect. We're not going to do anything but slap on 4 new Firestones and load her up with fuel.
Now, although Scott Goodyear does have the lead, remember that if things continue the way they are right now, Buddy Lazier would win the title because Scott has to win the race and lead the most laps, and Buddy Lazier would have to finish down in the order in order for Goodyear to win the title. Al Unser Jr. is still back there in 3rd position, although he has fallen off the pace just a little bit. Back down to Vince Welch, who has a report on Al Unser Jr.
Al Jr. is going to be coming into the pits here in the next few laps. They are going to make a slight wing adjustment, so the handling has gone away from him just a little bit, but they say it's not a major problem, but they are looking forward to making that pit stop and getting an adjustment made.
His 4th starting position today, the best of his career.
Well, that was. They've been working on their qualifying situation, but you know, like they say, if the handle goes away a little bit, the cars are very sensitive to air pressure. So if they've got a right side tire building air pressure, it can really affect the cross weight. Little changes in these cars make big differences, and that might be some of the stuff he's experiencing.
We're on board with Scott Sharp. Up ahead of him is Jarrett Schroeder. Also, Robbie Buell is up there, and Jacques Lazier. Scott Sharp has just been on a tear since the green flag drop. He started in 24th position and is now up to 8th. Saturday, ABC Sports has a full slate of college football. 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Some of you will see Michigan State take on Drew Hinson at number 17 Michigan, plus other regional action, Texas A&M and Iowa State, plus Virginia and number 7 Florida State. Well, a battle up front now once again.
I'll tell you what, those linemen in those football games don't line up any closer than some of these cars are running, Bob.
Well, this has been a great race between these two. Again, these are the 1st and 2nd positions, not only on the racetrack, but in the point standings. And they're both trying to get the advantage here as Eddie Cheever, the other title contender, comes in for his first pit stop, and it comes on lap 48.
Again, this is a little earlier. That's the Infinity, however. It might not be getting the mileage that some of the Oldsmobile guys are.
12-second pit stop for Eddie Cheever Jr. as he flies back into action. Jarrett Schroeder is also on pit road. And Greg Ray, who was in for a long time, went back out, is now coming in once again as we're on board with Scott Goodyear, and we anticipate that he's going to be lifting and turning left. That is indeed the case, and Scott Goodyear relinquishes the lead to make his first pit stop, and Buddy Lazier is going to come in also, but he pulls ahead of Scott as they come down and must meet that speed limit before they hit the line.
Well, that was a smart move on both Scott Goodyear and Buddy Lazier's part, because Goodyear pits before Lazier does it, the end of pit out. They are side by side, so it'll be fascinating to watch the ballet in parallel.
As Vince Welch reported, they are pitted right together on pit road. The crews now go to work, the Pennzoil Panther team and the Ron Himmelgarn team. Slight adjustment on the front of Lazier's car, and they're coming out as close as they went in.
Well, that Pennzoil crew's been quick all year. They've won some of the pit stop contests, Bob, and they just won that little battle right there.
Crew chief Kevin Blanche doing a great job getting those guys In and out of the pits, and here is Al Unser Jr., who is also in for his first pit stop of the day. A little bit of a wing adjustment there, and Al Unser Jr. is back on track. 51 laps completed out of 208 in this finale of the 2000 Indy Racing Northern Light Series. We'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway as the battle for the championship of the Indy Racing Northern Light Series continues. It will be decided here this afternoon. Well, there are Lazier and Goodyear. They're battling on the racetrack after their pit stop, just like they did before, and Al Unser Jr. right now is ahead of them.
Well, and you see what's happening. Both Al and Lazier made little adjustments to the handling characteristics. We didn't see much done with Goodyear's car, and now it appears that those adjustments are taking those two guys to the front.
Greg Ray is out of the race, Vince.
Greg, you fell back from almost the very beginning of the race. What happened?
Yeah, very disappointing. You know, we had a great car out there, but we had a motor problem right from the get-go, and at the start, the car had no power. And, you know, we made a couple laps out there hoping that it would clear itself out. And came in, changed every electrical box on the car, and there's no hope. It's really disappointing for Conseco Team Menard. We had a great car, and too bad we couldn't bring a win to the Texas fans.
A frustrating finish for the reigning champion of the Indy Racing Northern Light Series.
From Plano, Texas, which is just down the road from Texas Motor Speedway. Too bad the Indy Racing reigning Champions Day comes to an end early. This is the battle for the lead as Al Unser Jr. has it and Scott Goodyear wants it. Team Kelly cars, by the way, as we watch this battle, both had misfortunate pit stops. Scott Sharp stalled and Mark Dismore not only stalled, but Dismore is still on pit road.
You can see Goodyear's working real hard to get into the lead. He needs those points for leading the most laps, and he's doing everything he can to try to get by little Al right here.
Bob, it looks like Scott Goodyear's competitive nature was increased about mid-season. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist in any way, shape, or form, but that's when his wife, Leslie, started bringing home blue ribbons from her equestrian competition. When I asked him about it, he said, boy, she's got the bragging rights. I got to win this million to take it back.
And he is doing all he can to get that championship here this afternoon. Again, here are the statistics in terms of the points. There are a maximum of 52 available here this afternoon, 50 to the winner of the race, and the driver who leads the most points, or rather laps, will get a 2-point bonus. Down to Vince. What's the problem now?
Mark Dismore's car is being pushed behind the wall. It's stuck in gear. They can't get it out of gear to get him out of the pit lane, so obviously a significant problem here in the transmission. Dismore is going to remain in the car while the team works on it, but you know, when you got to push him behind the wall, that's not a good sign for the future of the day.
We also saw Stefan Gregoire's car being taken behind the wall. J.J. Yaley is also among those who have dropped out of competition.
With Gregoire, they had the bonnet off that thing before the race even started, so they didn't get that problem solved.
Eliseo Salazar has increased his starting position by 14. Kite is up 12 positions. Ayrton Gare, who right now is the leader of the Rookie of the Year battle, is 10 positions better than his start, and Scott Goodyear, rather Scott Sharp, has moved up 12 spots.
I know Scott Goodyear would like to move up one spot right now, Bob.
And he may do it here. Got a good run through the first and second corners, but Al Unser Jr. holds the challenge off for the moment.
Again, it's tough to run real close to the guy right in the middle of the corner, and it looked like right there Goodyear got into that turbulent air and had to roll out of the throttle.
Looking outside. Clear, clear, clear.
Buddy Lazier on board with him as he runs in third position. Up ahead, Scott Goodyear and the leader of the race, Al Unser Jr. 62 laps have been completed, and it's been all green so far.
These guys have done a great job since the beginning of this series coming along. These drivers have developed fantastically, and it's amazing that they run this close at those speeds for this amount of time without having a problem.
Look at the average speed of the race, over 209 miles an hour. Now, you can add to the list of at least the drivers that are not on track on pit road with work going on over the car. Robbie Mcgee, as his car has also come to pit road. He crashed in the Friday practice session and qualified the backup car, but qualified it quite well. Battle for second now. Lazier and Goodyear once again are wheel to wheel.
Well, it's tough to do it on the outside, but Buddy had a pretty good run, but that low line obviously is the shortest route around, and they're both running flat out. So when you can run flat out, the shorter distance you run, the more advantage you got, and that's where Scott's got him right now.
That completed the 65th lap of the race. You'll recall in June when we were here, there was a problem up in the 3rd and 4th turns with a bump that was creating some problems. Right there is the patch that they made here to eliminate those bumps. They took 3 days to correct that problem, but all the drivers say it has been corrected well.
Yeah, they really appreciate the effort that the track made to try to help that situation out. There's still some ripples there, but it's a lot better than they had the last time they were in the race.
Jack, what's the problem with Robbie Mcgee?
Well, it seems as if an engine gremlin has invaded that car as well. They're debating right now whether to bring him back in and change the spark box, but Tom Sneva, the telemetry doesn't indicate that that'll cure the problem.
Yeah, it's fun to have the telemetry, but, well, there's a
and we're going to have
situation, Bob.
Yep, we're going to have a caution as Tice Carlson's car is showing some smoke, and with the possibility of there being some oil or other liquid on the racetrack, the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series officials waved the yellow flag for the first time here on lap number 69.
There's no room for error when they're running that flat out around the racetrack. Any sign of liquids, they've got to slow these guys down and keep them out of trouble.
Speaking of Robbie Mcgee, he had the best average finish on the 1.5-mile tracks this year. He had finished 6th, 2nd, 4th, and 14th, an average of 6.5, but it appears as he's out of the race here this afternoon. There are the top 6 with 68 of 200 laps completed.
Car 6, nose to tail, car 6.
Well, a short caution to check the track for oil. All is well. We're back to racing at Texas Motor Speedway. Very few made pit stops during that caution period. Certainly none of those running up front did. It's Al Unser Jr., Scott Goodyear, and Buddy Lazier running 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Cheever's just back of him. There's a couple lap cars between him and the leaders when it went green, and they were a little slow in getting it up to speed, and that hurt Buddy a little.
And Tom Cheever has been moaning throughout the last 12 or 13 laps, saying, oh, what I would give for a dancing partner.
Meaning someone to draft with, of course. Cheever is back in 4th, and his Infinity Indy teammate, Robbie Buell, is running in 5th position. We jump on board with Buddy once again.
During that yellow flag, Buddy Lazier radioed in and asked how many laps the race actually is, and of course it is a 208-lap event, but team manager Lee Koonsman just a moment ago said we want him to feel like he's just out there running practice laps, and well, there were some pretty hot practice laps between Lazier, Goodyear, and Cheever earlier this weekend.
Oh man, this is a good battle up front. Tom, did you ever enter a race not knowing how long it was?
Well, a lot of times you don't know how many laps they are, and that's not what you're focused on. You've got a lot of support effort to let you know those kinds of things, but I would have thought you maybe would have inquired about how many laps the race actually was.
It is 208 laps, 312 miles. That's 500 kilometers. Great side-by-side battle once again with Goodyear and Lazier wheel to wheel right through the corner.
Again, these guys are able to run the throttle right on the floor, so they're getting all they can out of it, but running side by side, they're not going to put any threat to Al Unser. They're blowing too big a hole in the air side by side, and I'm a little surprised why they don't get nose to tail, but I know Goodyear needs to get to the front a lot more than Buddy does right now.
Al Unser Jr. ahead.
Inside.
Eliseo Salazar is driving through the pits right now. He was caught speeding and is taking the penalty for that. Right now he is shown back in the 12th position, but he is now a lap down. 11 cars remain on the lead lap.
Well, I'm still a little surprised with Buddy. I would have thought, again, this early in the race, why don't you just let him go a little bit and not expose yourself to that kind of trouble, Bob?
Well, Buddy Lazier does not need to run as hard as he is right now because, again, as we told you at the beginning of the telecast, all he has to do is finish 14th. But don't tell that to a race driver like Buddy Lazier. If he's got the car, he's going to run it as hard as he possibly can. And the best way to secure the championship here this afternoon is to win the race. Now again, those fluorescent orange peaches that you see on the front and rear wings and on the roll bar indicate to the spectators and for you at home the 3 drivers in contention for the Northern Light Cup.
When you saw traffic there, Buddy had to roll out of the throttle a little bit when they came up on that traffic, and just a little bit of a rollout causes a big momentum switch.
Now we're seeing 4th and 5th place catching up to the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, but Buell right now has the 4th position over Eddie Cheever.
Well, and again, when they're running side by side, that allows the guys behind them to pick up a lot of air help, and it pulls them up, sucks them right up too.
Purex has indicated that they will be back as sponsor next year for Robbie Buell. We're watching the speeds at the line way back there. Billy Boat was shown as the fastest that lap at 213.7. Billy had a cracked cylinder when he qualified, and certainly his qualifying speed was not an indication of how good the car was going to race. And so he is now running in 9th position and had the fastest lap last time around.
Well, and Billy Boat was almost not quite a teammate to Goodyear, but he did a lot of adjusting for Scott's car in preparation for this race. And so that team has helped Billy out a little bit. And depending on his traffic situation, you get big toes, and that's why that speed is there.
And Boat anticipated as the driver for the Pennzoil Panther team, one of 2 cars that they will have in the 2001 Northern Light Series.
And Tom and Bob, in a sense, that relationship has already begun because Panther Racing prepared Billy Boat's car for this race at the Panther Race Shop in Indianapolis this week.
Yeah, it sort of had to be a hands-off thing a little bit because Goodyear, in part of his contract, they're not supposed to run 2 cars, so it's sort of been an arm's length situation where they're helping Billy Boat out.
That red car running behind Buddy Lazier is Buzz Calkins, and he has run up with the leaders almost all race. He did lose a lap earlier. In fact, he couldn't get the car started when they gave the command, so he went to pit road, got a late start, but has indeed run well since the car did get a start. America's coolest bad boy, Charlie Sheen. Oh, we have a big smoker. And it looks like it's Stevie Reeves in the Logan racing machine. On the side pod is a tribute to the driver, the sailors lost in the USS Cole tragedy in the Middle East. But that car is, looks like it's maybe finished for the day. A big, big puff of smoke down through the quad oval area here.
And that usually means the piston has gone away. It's a lot of times if they run them too lean, or they get lean, they get hot, and they break and stick that piston in the cylinder, and that breaks it off.
Down to Jack Arute, who's with Robbie Mcgee.
Robbie, it has not been your week. First you crash in practice, and now an engine. Let's go.
Yeah, there was a little bit of hope we could have done well. You know, we had a great car. It's just bad for the, to end the season like this for Treadway.
Yeah, what about next year for you?
Well, Broadband Infrastructure Group was our sponsor here, and I feel bad for them ending the race like this, but we're going to get them some wins next year for sure.
Where are you going?
Not sure yet.
For sale, driver, with a sponsor.
And a good driver, I might add. I'm sure he'll end up with a good team next year. America's coolest bad boy, as I was about to say before we had the caution, Charlie Sheen joins Heather Locklear on the season premiere of Spin City Wednesday here on ABC.
Well, thank goodness none of the yellows we've had today have been for Spin City, Bob.
Well, that's right. We have had a couple of cautions, but everything has been kept away from the walls as Stevie Reeves climbs out of his disabled car. This is from Logan Racing, and of course it is the only African-American owned team in the Indy Racing Northern Light Series. Back with more from Texas Motor Speedway in a moment. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. The green flag is about to come out once again on this final race of the 2000 campaign. Now 4 cars at the front of the field have gotten back on the lead lap, at least for the moment. Ward, Fisher, Beechler, and Salazar. They did not make pit stops during this caution. They did during the previous one. Now here's how everybody fared on this most recent round of pit stops, and as you can see, everybody maintained his position during that pit stop activity.
Well, there's been a little bit of talk on the radios between Buell and Cheever. They're trying to work together. I think Cheever's maybe found a dance partner. It might have been a little easier for him if he wasn't, you know, one of those kiss and tell type guys to find that dance partner.
Up front, a good battle for the lead. Scott Goodyear and Al Unser Jr. are side by side down the backstretch. That is Eliseo Salazar ahead of them again at the tail end of the lead lap in 14th position.
Again, you talk about the incentive for Goodyear. But Salazar's been quick. He had a little problem with the pit speed limiter, and I think they figured out it was set at 56, and the speed limit's supposed to be 60, so I don't know what that problem is.
Al Unser Jr. trying to move around Salazar at the top of the racetrack. Meanwhile, Robbie Buell is the guy showing the muscle right now. He's alongside Buddy Lazier, or was there for a moment, as they race for the 3rd position. Buell is in 4th as we ride along with Scott Sharp, who is in the 6th position.
Well, we're starting to see a little bit of what we saw in the last race here, Bob. A lot of side-by-side racing and big packs, and this is what we expected early, but it's taken a while to get to that situation, but we sure got it right now.
Now Salazar does lose a lap. By the way, during that most recent caution period, Jimmy Kite dropped out of the race. They had picked up sponsorship from National Sports Management, hoping for a good race as they had at Kentucky. It did not happen.
Look at the shuffling going on here. I mean, this is pretty good stuff here. When they run side by side, it gives everybody a chance to sort of pick that draft and close in up from the backside, and that's exactly what's happened here.
But look at Buddy Lazier. He's fallen back to 5th position right now, is up ahead of him. A lot of traffic, including the battle for the lead. Junior, Al Unser Jr. and Scott Goodyear.
Well, again, they're side by side. This will let everybody from the backside sort of close up on him. But Goodyear, again, he needs to lead some laps to try to get those extra points, and he's going to try to get to the front.
Al Unser Jr. has led the most laps, 81 here this afternoon. Goodyear has led 17. And again, Scott has to win the race and lead the most points in order to garner the championship.
Well, the problem is Scott's leading a lot of these laps on the back straightaway, but by the time they get to the front straightaway, it's a different deal.
And it's only at the line does the lap count. 106 laps to go in this contest, so we're just about at the halfway mark as the battle up front is between Al Unser Jr. and Scott Goodyear.
Ooh, 3 abreast down that. Somebody looked to the bottom side to try to look at 3 abreast.
I believe that was Robbie Buell, who did move into the 3rd position. That is, again, Eliseo Salazar, who is falling back now after having lost a lap. Jacques Lazier is in the middle of this fight also, and so is Ayrton Dare. Down to Vince Welch on Robbie Buell.
This is a big race for Robbie Buell because he came in just 7th in points, just 2 points out of the 5th place position behind Sharp and Salazar. He found it very important to get into the top 5. Then there would be 2 Infiniti teams in the top 5 of the championship point standings at the end of the season. Of course, Eddie Cheever being the other.
This will get interesting now. Buell is caught up to these lead 2, so it depends on which line Buell goes, and Buell's going to the bottom, and this has really helped Al Unser establish that lead.
Well, it right now is an official race, so the rain that has been forecast all weekend long, we hope it doesn't, but if it should come, we will have an official race.
Bob, the fans of the Infinity Engine program are wondering, the highly touted 35A, well, it's not going to make an appearance in Y2K, but it has been on the dyno. The reports from Infinity are in the off-season. They're going to test it. Look for it in March when we kick off 2001.
And the word from the garage area is that that is an awesome motor, Tom, and they simply didn't want to bring it out here this weekend because they wanted to go with the more reliable but apparently next year it's going to be a super engine.
Well, they've reduced the weight on it quite a bit. The package is a lot smaller, and they've had it on the dyno and have the same or better horsepower, and the reliability doesn't seem to be a problem. So they're excited about its potential for next season.
Once again, Monday Night Football at 9 o'clock Eastern and 6 o'clock Pacific here on ABC features the Titans and the Jaguars as Jacksonville hopes to break the spell. Steve McNair in Tennessee continuing to dominate, possibly watch it Monday night at 9 o'clock. Boy, some 3 and 4 abreast racing right here. Scott Sharp is there, and so is Eddie Cheever.
Well, again, somebody had to roll out of the throttle unexpectedly, and it really stacked them up, Bob, and fortunately everybody was on their toes.
Al Unser Jr. maintains the lead here, but his advantage is a very slight one over Scott Goodyear. Robbie Buell running a close third. Ayrton Dare is only about a half second behind the leader, and Scott Sharp up from 24th starting position is in 5th spot as Eddie Cheever now and Buddy Lazier, 2 of the title contenders, have dropped back to 6th and 7th. Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. We have a good battle up front, and it involves some drivers that we have not seen up there so much today. Al Unser Jr. is the leader of the race. He's trying to put Jeff Ward a lap down. But running in 2nd and 3rd are Robbie Buell on the inside, and Ayrton Dare, the top rookie at the moment, he's running in 3rd spot.
Well, this has been a great battle. Little Al hasn't had enough to get by Ward on the outside, but when they went 2 by 2, it really allowed the rest of the pack to bunch up. But now we've got some good stuff going on out there.
And that's Eddie Cheever down to the bottom of the racetrack behind the Purex-sponsored Robbie Buell car. Scott Goodyear is also there in the mix. And so is Billy Boat, who, remember, had a bad pit stop and had to go to the back of the field. Well, he is charged up all the way to 7th position. He's in that orange car there that is painted pumpkin orange. And on the side pod is Boo, as we anticipate in a couple of weeks Halloween. Curb Records with a bit of sponsorship on that car also from Team Pelfrey.
Well, he's out to scare some of these guys right now, Bob.
And he battles alongside Scott Sharp, who's also having a good race. And Sarah Fisher is very slow down pit road in the Derek Walker Cummins car. She was smoking as she came down the backstretch and now finds her pit box. Up front, we continue to watch this race. Jeff Ward is doing an outstanding job holding off Al Unser Jr. and maintaining his lead lap status. He is in 10th position, of course, the last car on the lead lap.
See Buddy go to the radio. He's talking to the crew, obviously. I don't know what he's asking him, but I think I might be giving these guys a little more room. We got to look at these guys. I mean, they're 4 or 5. I mean, they're bunched up.
But again, Buddy Lazier is in the driver's seat in terms of the championship, even at this point in the race with 122 laps to go. But Tom, we are indeed seeing what we saw here in June, that cars running very close together on the racetrack.
Well, I mean, we got a pack of about 12 of them now that have been dicing it up pretty good. And again, Little Al can't get by Ward. Ward was a quick qualifier, had some problems early, but obviously as quick as anybody on the racetrack.
And you saw Eddie Cheever, of course, go from 4th to 1st in 1 lap. So Cheever is now up front, trying to get by Jeff Ward.
Well, Eddie was sort of using that theory, let's drop back early because it gives him more time to get to the front, I think, and he's done it.
Al Unser Jr. running 2nd, and Ayrton Dare running in 3rd position. That's Buell in 4th, and look at Cheever now go to the inside, passing Buell, and stays in the same line to get around Al Unser Jr.
Well, Buell was going to follow Little Al, and Little Al had a little bit of a rollout. He had a hiccup there and rolled out a little bit, gave Eddie the momentum he needed to get by.
We don't talk about it a lot until near the end of the race, guys, but normally teams will dictate their fuel conservation measures from about 1/4 of the race in. That's the case with the fellow that led a lot of this race, but now runs in the 2nd position. Al Unser Jr., Rick Gallis have determined what their fuel strategy will be. They backed off just a little bit in terms of consumption.
That blue car now running between first and second, and Ayrton Dare is trying to get around is Zach Morioka, who is making his debut in the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series this weekend. He was the 1997 Formula 2000 champion, and when he won that year, he battled with drivers like Sam Hornish and Robbie Mcgee, and now Ayrton Dare tries to get around him. Zach Morioka is indeed now 2 laps down in 16th position. Vince, let's talk about the rookies.
Well, Ayrton Dare came into this race with a 2-point advantage over Jarrett Schroeder in the Rookie of the Year battle. Well, Schrader's still running, but he's got an alternator problem. Sam Hornish, who was 3rd, is out of the race, and Sarah Fisher, who is 4th in the rookie battle, is facing a fuel pressure gauge problem. So at least at this point, with Ayrton Dare running up in 2nd position, he's in control of the Rookie of the Year status for the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series.
And another good showing from Shigeaki Hattori, who is running in the 11th position, and he started this race from 15th. Now, Scott Goodyear cannot lead the most laps here right now. He cannot take the 2 bonus points, so that means that Buddy Lazier can finish 16th or better and win the title.
Well, again, in car camera, watch Scott. He's trying to get by the outside. That's Dare right in front of him. But look how little he has to move that wheel. And listen to the motor. It doesn't change pitch.
Donnie Beechler is making an unscheduled pit stop as Jarrett Schroeder has just completed a lengthy stay on pit road. They go back into competition. However, up front, it is Eddie Cheever and Ayrton Dare, followed closely by Scott Goodyear and then Al Unser Jr. We'll see what Dare can do here as he has a good run coming off the corner. He has been very, very impressive in his rookie season in the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series.
But again, as soon as they go too wide, it really gave Goodyear a shot, a pull, a tug to get up there and close the gap. Look at everybody behind him. They're all scrambling.
Dare runs for Team Extreme based in Rockwell, Texas, which is an eastern suburb of Dallas. So a hometown performance here for this team, and indeed a good one. The other Team Extreme driver, Jacques Lazier, is running in 9th spot.
Well, look at the close quarters. I mean, this is really tough for a driver to run this close at those speeds for the extended amount of time. There's just no room for mistake, and they just got to be on their toes the whole time, Bob.
Eddie Cheever leads over Ayrton Dare, Scott Goodyear, Robbie Buell, and Al Unser Jr. Well, the early stages of this race, we saw the team get the drivers kind of get strung out, but that is not the case now. There you see the top 4 with Scott Goodyear now 2nd, and Ayrton Dare is in 3rd position as Eddie Cheever leads this race.
And Bob, Eddie Cheever had a scare. I'm talking a big scare. Looked down on his dash and he had instantly dropped 400 revs. He started screaming into the radio. They checked the telemetry here and radio back. Everything looks good here, Eddie. And he says, well, not to me. And they said, just remember, those guys behind you are ganging up on you.
Well, Scott Goodyear now has taken the lead, and Dare is in a battle for 2nd with Cheever as they come on to the quad oval here.
Well, I'm not sure what's going on, but the drivers have different adjustments for fuel mileage and things like that. There's different fuel maps on board the car. They got about 7 different settings, and maybe they've asked Eddie to turn it to a setting where they can get a little more mileage. And when they do that, to get more mileage, they got to take horsepower out of it.
And that's not what happened, Tom. They're actually in a conundrum down here because they don't know where he lost the 400 revs.
Well, he is indeed falling back a little bit. He's now in 3rd position and under fire from Robbie Buell. By the way, that car that everybody was passing there a few minutes ago is driven by Jarrett Schroeder. I told you he was in the pits and he came out right in the midst of this thing, but they have put him now in their rear view mirrors. On board with Buddy Lazier, who is still in command of the points championship. He is currently running in the 4th position.
That's Salazar in the blue and red car right in front of Lazier. So he's down a couple laps. They've had some kind of problems. They've had problems in the pits.
Well, as far as lap leaders are concerned, Al Unser Jr. has been out in front 99 laps. Scott Goodyear, who is the current leader, has been in front 24. Eddie Cheever has led 14. Scott Sharp 2, and Jacques Lazier has been given credit for leading 1 lap. Ayrton Dare right on the rear wing, but here comes Cheever mounting a charge back.
Again, Cheever got a little nervous when he was leading the pack, but when you get somebody else to lead the pack, your speed comes up because they're blowing the hole near for you.
And there we see the speeds. Looks like that the other Infinity, driven by Robbie Buell, currently in 4th position. But right there behind Ayrton Dare was the fastest that time around.
Well, again, he's got 3 guys in front of him to blow the hole in the air that he can draft off and suck himself up, and that's why his speed was a little higher right there.
Scott Goodyear leads. Here comes Ayrton Dare to the outside of Eddie Cheever. The battle for 2nd position in the finale of the 2000 Indy Racing Northern Lights Series. Here at Texas Motor Speedway, and Cheever, it does indeed drop down off the banking and enters pit road. Eddie Cheever, one of the title contenders, is coming in.
And it is a scheduled pit stop, just 4 laps ahead of when they had anticipated. But they decided to come in a little early so that they would have a clean entrance and a clean exit.
And Ayrton Dare also drops down and gets on. It looks like he may be out of fuel the way he's wiggling the car. Well, here's Eddie Cheever's pit stop now. We'll watch it as they want to get the maximum amount of fuel in the car. And it's a 13.2 second pit stop. Al Unser Jr. is also on pit road. Here is Dare, who's making his way very, very slowly down through the entrance to pit road, Vince.
Oh, he's run out of fuel, Bob, and now the crew is going to have to run to the front entrance of the pit lane. He is in the very back pit box, so they don't have far to push the car, but this is such a costly mistake. They had the car running perfectly. They had not touched it at the chassis at all, so a big bad break for Ayrton Dare.
And for Eddie Cheever, it was a change in handling by simply going to sticker tires. That means they're brand new. They haven't been scuffed in.
Al Unser Jr. has completed his pit stop. Scott Goodyear and Buddy Lazier come in right together as they did earlier. The crew is now working on both cars on board with Lazier. Scott Goodyear is away, and a little bit slower pit stop for Buddy Lazier, 13.1, and he finally exits pit road.
Well, you saw Goodyear get completely sideways on the exit, trying to accelerate out of the pit, but he caught it and went on.
Other drivers making pit stops include Davey Hamilton, Mark Dismore, and Buzz Calkins. Oh, and that's Billy Boat, who was trying to follow Robbie Buell into the pits. It looked like he was in danger of hitting that pylon down there at the entrance to pit road and got out into the grass, but all is well.
Well, again, they have a pit speed, but they try to get to that blend line as fast as they can and then slow down as quick as they can. And for Billy, somebody slowed down a lot faster than he thought they were going to slow down.
But Boat is being given credit for leading a lap, and now the crew completes the work, and he is back in the competition.
Well, the question is he going to get penalized for that little maneuver on the grass? That'll be the question we'll have to answer.
Scott Goodyear back in front at Texas Motor Speedway in the final race of the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series. Bob Jenkins, Tom Sneva, Vince Welch, and Jack Arud back at Texas Motor Speedway. 31 lead changes occurred here in June. Today we have had 13, and we have had 7 different leaders. Scott Goodyear is at the front of the field right now. There's second place Eddie Cheever, pursued by Al Unser Jr., and right behind him is Buddy Lazier. Scott Sharp now running in the 5th position as Robbie Buell, who was running up at the front of the field, is now in the pits. Down to Jack Arud.
Well, if you look at the clouds that are surrounding the Texas Motor Speedway, that has the Pennzoil Panther team just breaking out in smiles. They set their car up for what they thought was going to be a cloudy day, and they report that the car is now coming to Scott Goodyear. In the meantime, his closest pursuer, Eddie Cheever, just radioed in to his crew, give me 10 laps, and guys, I'm going to have me some Canadian bacon.
Scott, of course, is a native of the Toronto area. Saturday, ABC Sports once again has a full slate of college football, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Pacific, some of you will see Michigan State take on Drew Hinson and number 17 Michigan. Plus, there is other regional action, all part of our College Football Saturday on ABC.
Well, it looks like Little Al might get to that Canadian bacon a little bit before Cheever right now, Bob.
Right now, Al Unser Jr. running in the second position. Cheever right behind him. And 152 of the 208 laps have been completed.
Well, it was fun. We're listening to Cheever's radio, and he was saying he'd work with Little Al, and they'd try to catch him, but Little Al went on by, so I'm not sure if Cheever was happy with that last dance putt.
There are currently 6 cars on the lead lap. Now Cheever heads to the high side of Al Unser Jr. and will take second spot.
Well, so much for dancing in close quarters. Little Al's got a problem of some kind.
He sure does. And this could spell the end of the day for Al Unser Jr. after. And they're going to throw the caution to check the track for oil possibly put down by Al Unser Jr., whose race appears to be over after he led 99 laps on 4 different occasions. And another car is stalled down here, and that appears to be Jarrett Schroeder.
Well, Little Al, you heard him talking about the clutch. It sounded like he was saying clutch problem, but obviously it's going to end his day.
Down to Vince.
Robbie Buell is out of the race. He's still got his helmet on and checking to find out exactly what happened. If we can interrupt, Robbie, what happened with the race car?
Well, something with the oiling system, I guess. Back pressure, Jim was just telling me. But eventually, if we keep running it, we'll break something. So it's unfortunate. Really happy with the progress that the Infinity guys made for this weekend. Looking forward to what we got next year. And Purex is back with us and Aventus. So not what we wanted here, but we're excited about what the Indy Racing League has to offer for our schedule next year.
That's Robbie Buell.
And a big disappointment for Buell, who, as we have indicated earlier, won the opening race at Orlando and then switched engines and has certainly given that Infinity a good run in several races this year, including today. And Al Unser Jr. is climbing out of his Tickets.com car, painted in Dracula colors this weekend.
Well, he actually said he talked to Dracula last night, and Al said, I'll take care of the day business. You can't continue with that nighttime stuff. And doesn't look like Al did his part today.
We're on board here with Mark Dismore, who has not had a particularly good day. He is 19 laps down, spent a lot of time on pit road with a gearbox problem, but now he is back out there and shown in the 18th position. So, with 156 laps completed, there are the top 5. Scott Goodyear is the leader. Vince?
With Al Unser Jr. just now pulling off the headgear. Al, what happened? You were running so strong today.
Yeah, it was the clutch just started spinning and it just went away. It was like going into neutral and it was on the rev limiter, so it was the clutch that died.
How about the racing? It was terrific while you were there and leading the pack.
It was a great show. I just want to thank my crew, you know, Tickets.com, Stars Encore, Firestone, Oldsmobile, everybody. Thanks for the beautiful year in the IRL.
That's Al Unser Jr., Eddie Cheever, and Scott Goodyear coming to the pits.
And once again, they hit their pit boxes almost instantaneously and simultaneously. And Lazier is going to beat Goodyear off pit road this time. Cheever, I should say.
Yeah, Eddie, that was quick. They did a time stop. They didn't fill it all the way up. They timed that thing.
Under caution once again here at Texas.
Green flag, green flag.
Back to racing at Texas Motor Speedway. It is Buddy Lazier leading this race. He did not stop during that most recent caution period. Neither did Scott Sharp until late in the caution. And then he stalled the car on pit road and so put Scott Sharp a lap down. On board with Scott Goodyear, who's running in third. That's Cheever up ahead to his left.
It's a little surprising. It's going to be real close. Some of these guys might be able to go the rest of the distance on that fuel stop. And Lazier obviously didn't think they could, so they're trying to stretch it.
Tom, neither can Eddie Cheever Jr. They have said that they are going to have to do a splash and go. But they're confident they're going to get another caution before this thing runs out. Let's check in with Vince.
The reason Buddy Lazier didn't come in is because he didn't hear them in time. He came over the radio and apologized. They pit with the others. He just didn't get the message, as he said, in time to make the dart down onto pit lane. They're hoping for a yellow, obviously. They don't want to run him out of fuel now.
Boy, that's for sure. That is an important step. However, bear in mind that he still is very much in control of the championship.
Well, this is good stuff here. Let's see if they can catch Buddy now. These three guys running together. As long as they don't get side by side, they have a shot at it.
There is Shigeaki Hattori in that Epson-sponsored blue and white car that Cheever is trying to get around. He has done an incredible job this season in the IRL. He is currently running in 5th position, just went a lap down, and this young man has really been impressive at times.
Well, he really has, and it caused me to wonder, you know how in American Wendy's we throw rice? I wonder if Oriental Wendy's they throw bread or something. I've always wondered about that.
His best career finish came here at Texas in June, and also at Kentucky. He finished 8th in both of those races. Right now, although he is 3rd here in line, he is running in the 5th position, and there are 4 cars on the lead lap. The other car on the lead lap, besides the one you see here, Lazier, Cheever, and Goodyear, the other one is Billy Both, running in 4th, about a 1.5 seconds.
Tom, Bob and Tom, one more follow-up to the Buddy Lazier fuel story. They just came over the radio and notified Buddy, you're going to have to make one more stop. Everybody else can be out to the finish. So whether or not anyone else does have to come in, it's going to be close. But Lazier, for sure, has to make another stop, likely within the next 30 laps.
Well, this is on board Buddy, obviously looking right out the back, and Cheever's sniffing pretty hard right there.
He sure is. Going from side to side, trying to find the way that he would best like to attempt to pass. Lazier comes down and completes lap number 167. He is getting close to wrapping up the championship, but it has not happened yet.
Well, he's got a real short window compared to these other guys for fuel now, Bob. He's going to need the yellow in a hurry, where these guys have some cushion on how far they can go to try to catch that yellow.
Scott Goodyear back there trying to get a draft off of Hattori. He has not been able to pass him yet. Again, Hattori not on the lead lap, but up front we've got a great battle as Eddie Cheever now wants to take a shot at Lazier.
Well, it's too bad we can't see a little higher and look at the whites of Eddie's eyes right there, because we're real close to being able to do that. I'll guarantee you they're wide open.
Pikes Peak was the scene of Eddie Cheever's win earlier this year, and Buddy Lazier has won twice in the series. He won at Kentucky, and of course that last to first event that he won at Phoenix. Well, 20 million people watched the premiere of Gideon's Crossing. Don't miss an all-new episode of Gideon's Crossing when it returns on its regular night, Wednesday at 10, 9 Central, here on ABC. Well, we have about 38 more laps to go in this race, and we can declare at this point that Buddy Lazier is the 2000 Indy Racing Northern Light Series champion. Enough cars have dropped out of the race so that if Buddy Lazier dropped out at this point, and of course he is leading at the moment, he would still win the Cup. So congratulations to Buddy, but we're going to see here in the next 37 laps who wins this race here at Texas. The top 3 in the point standings coming into this event are 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, not particularly in the order in which they were in the point standings, but Buddy Lazier, who's clinched the Cup, is the leader of the race. Eddie Cheever, who came in 3rd in points, is running 2nd, and Scott Goodyear there in the bright yellow Pennzoil Panther, who was 2nd in the point standings coming in, is 3rd, and take your pick.
Well, I'll tell you what, the pick has changed now, Bob, because Lazier, by clinching the title already, his mindset changes dramatically. Now he can go for the win. He knows he can't get in trouble in the championship, so now his mindset is, hey, we don't have to have this conservative thought process. And now I bet you he wishes he didn't miss that signal to come in and pit earlier.
Well, I don't know whether Buddy would know or whether or not he has clinched the title. The crew would be the ones, of course, to tell him that. And do you think they would, or would they just just let him run his race?
I don't know. I think they would, because now that they've got that part handled, now they got to go for a race win. And to get his mindset, to get him thinking maybe just a little differently, I think I'd let him know that, because now you got a little more incentive for the win.
Let's check in with Vince Welch.
Ron Himmelgarn, team owner for Buddy Lazier. They're now getting out the Himmelgarn Lazier championship hats. And Ron, congratulations. Have you told Buddy yet?
Not yet. Not yet. We haven't told him we got a race to win here yet. So we're just holding on here. This is great getting the championship.
Will you tell him before the end of the race? Will you tell him before the end of the race?
Yeah, let's see what how this plays out. Right now we got to win this race.
Jack Arute?
Well, we've heard that Buddy Lazier is going to have to pit. We've checked with Eddie Cheever. They say they're going to have to pit. Guess what? Forget the Canadian Bacon folks, because according to the Pennzoil Panther team, they're all set. They're going right to the checkered flag with no anticipated stops on pit road.
Emmett Blanche calling the shots for the Pennzoil Panther team.
Got one looking inside.
Along with John Barnes.
Inside.
And that's Hattori, who passes Scott Goodyear, not for position, but it does put Hattori between second and third position.
Well, if Scott's going to try to go to the end, they might be a little more conservative on the fuel map they're using. There's 7 or 8 different settings in the map they're using. They're probably trying to conserve a little, because I'm not sure they're completely convinced they can go the whole way.
Scott and Lazier both use Speedway engines. That's the company that they get their engines from. Rick Long is the owner. They have designated a representative to both of Scott and Lazier's teams, and the representative in Scott Goodyear's team for Speedway engines this year, or this race, is a guy named Jeff Gordon. Not the Jeff Gordon, but a Jeff Gordon.
Well, Speedway Motors, that was started by Herbie Porter, who's been around the Speedway, was around the Speedway forever, was one of the kings in the Offenhauser development program and the turbocharged Fords, and just a great mechanic for a long time.
Herb, of course, was killed in a traffic accident not too long ago. Well, we continue to watch this tremendous battle up front, although they haven't changed positions recently, as Lazier has been able to keep back the challenge of Eddie Cheever, but they're certainly running close on the racetrack.
Well, it tells you a little bit about the parity in this series and how they're on a level playing field, Bob, and that was one of the goals of this series. And they pretty well got her there.
Now let's figure this out. Buddy Lazier leading the race, last pitted on lap 144. He went 50 laps under green before he made his first pit stop, and we're now at lap 181. So he will be making a pit stop before too long. We'll come back with more of the finale for the Indy Racing Northern Lights Series in 2000 in a moment. They continue to run in the same order here with 182 of 208 laps completed. It's Buddy Lazier who has clinched the 2000 championship, running just ahead of Eddie Cheever, but now Cheever looks to the outside, coming down through the quad oval here in front of the main grandstand, and once again takes a look at least, but cannot make the pass.
Well, Eddie's got his fingernails in that steering wheel. When he gets in that position, his eyes tend to get a little bit tighter shut, so he goes a little faster.
In our Indy Racing Today program, Eddie Cheever told us that his big moment in the 2000 season this year was not in this series, but rather when he took the championship in the IROC race at Michigan. And I can understand that, because when you're in IROC, you've got some tremendous competitors beside and in front and in back of you. And when you can take a win, especially away from those NASCAR drivers at a track they're very familiar with, you have accomplished a lot.
Well, he's got some pretty close quarters right here in this race, and he's had it all day, Bob. He's got his hands full with this situation.
Fellas, I just talked with Ron Himmelgarn and Lee Kunzman, and they said Buddy Lazier is going to have to come in about 7 laps or he's going to run out of fuel. So keep your eye on Lazier as he counts down here toward this championship victory to make it, well, it is officially a victory, but he's still going to have to come in for fuel.
Scott Sharp is going a lap down, another lap down here at Texas Motor Speedway. He is now 2 laps down in 11th position. He's had a couple of problems on pit road, has stalled the motor a couple of times, but he did make a charge up from his 24th position. Buddy Lazier is the leader of the race, but he's going to have to make a pit stop before too much longer. The average speed is 180 miles an hour. It's not been as competitive as the one we had here in June, but the average speed of the race is 11 miles an hour faster than the race we had here in June.
Well, actually, I think it's been as competitive. We just haven't seen as much side-by-side and as thick a pass as we had in the earlier race. But the competition at the front has been very intense, Bob.
8 leaders and 14 lead changes so far in this event, with now coming up on less than 20 laps to go. And all of a sudden, Eddie Cheever begins to drop back just a little bit from Buddy Lazier.
Well, he just didn't get by the traffic quite as easily, and you saw him sort of wave at Sharp when he went by, and I don't know if that was a friendly gesture or frustration.
Inside, still inside.
Well, are you a human sports encyclopedia? Do you think you know more about sports than anyone else? Well, ESPN has come up with the Ultimate Sports Fan Quiz Show, ESPN2's 2-minute drill. You can see it on Monday night at 7 o'clock. The host is Kenny Mayne. I watched that the other night. That is a good show. Watch it Monday on ESPN.
Well, it's sort of thought-provoking, and sometimes I get lost in thought because it's so unfamiliar.
It's so fast-paced, though. Man, you got to answer a lot of questions in 2 minutes. There is Buddy Lazier, as he has now led 34 laps in this race, but the driver who'll be given credit for leading the most and getting the 2 bonus points is Al Unser Jr. He led 99 before a clutch problem forced him out of competition. On board with Scott Goodyear once again.
And again, he's been able to catch this group. He's got a little run here on the outside, but he's got a long ways to go on that outside group.
First, second, and third with 191 laps completed here at Texas Motor Speedway. It's Lazier, Cheever, Goodyear, Billy Boat, Hattori, and Salazar. Well, the 4th caution is out here at Texas Motor Speedway. Zach Morioka, the driver making his debut here in the Indy Racing Northern Light Series, has crashed. He is okay. The caution is out. The pits are open. Buddy Lazier takes advantage of this to make his final pit stop. He will drop back to 4th. However, again, he has already clinched the 2000 Indy Racing Northern Light Series championship. Jack Arute.
Well, remember we told you that Eddie Cheever anticipated having to come in and pit again? Guess what? With this caution and the way they consume fuel under the yellow, they get such good fuel mileage. He just said goodbye to Buddy Lazier and took over the lead. He's not coming in. Vince?
Well, you saw the pit stop by Buddy Lazier. It was a time stop, fuel only, just enough to get him to the end. If they would have had to have gone yellow the rest of the race for Lazier to have not had to come in. Ron Himmelgarn and Lee Kunzman had that discussion. They said, no, we've got to bring him in and give him some fuel or he's not going to make it to the end. So in comes Lazier, and he's out safely to the championship.
Well, we're under a 4th caution here at Texas Motor Speedway. Zach Morioka, in his debut in the series, crashed out in turn number 1. He is okay, and there is his disabled car being taken away from the racing surface. Down to Jack Arute.
Bob, remember before this caution, Eddie Cheever Jr.'s crew thought he was going to have to come into the pits. Well, guess what? Now this caution has run on for a few laps. They get such good fuel consumption under caution, he's going to stay out there, and he's taking over the lead, Vince Welch.
Buddy Lazier came in for a pit stop. It was a time stop. They didn't change tires, just put him in enough fuel to get to the finish. After he went back out on the track, Ron Himmelgarn and the team told him, Buddy, you've won the championship. And Lazier then said, now I can breathe.
Well, Jack talked about that fuel mileage. They get about 2 miles to the gallon when they're under power at speed at 210 miles an hour. But when it's the yellow's out, they've got adjustments. They can lean the motor down and they get close to 10 miles per gallon under the yellow, and so that makes up the difference for that mileage situation.
We are going back to racing in one more lap now. There are only 4 cars on the lead lap, so Lazier, by coming in for that pit stop, relinquishes the lead but only falls back to 4th position. Here's how everybody else is running.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch Buddy try to come through. We only have a few laps left here, Bob, and you know Buddy's going to be up standing in the seat a little bit trying to get to the front.
And Himmelgarn Racing asked the question that Regis does here on ABC, who wants to be a millionaire? Well, they want and they will be the recipient of the $1 million bonus offered by the Indy Racing Northern Light Series. 10 laps to go as we go back to racing.
Green flag, green flag.
Now that's Cheever up ahead, trying to win the second race for the Infinity. Scott Goodyear right behind him on the charge. Billy Boat in the orange car trailing is in third, and the only other car on the lead lap is Buddy Lazier. Down to Jack again.
Remember, Eddie Cheever has some motivation right now, not only to win the $100,000 from this $1 million purse by running up front. If he should finish ahead of the other guy, the Pennzoil Panther car that's in the points chase, he will take over second, and he'd be runner-up in Y2K.
And Donnie Beechler, who is running in 6th position, would jump up 3 positions to 5th in the point standings. The big mover would be Billy Boat, who is running in 3rd. He would move up 4 positions, and he's challenging, as a matter of fact, Goodyear for second there in the orange car. He would jump 4 positions into the top 10 in points. Look at this tremendous battle up front. 3 cars going for the lead.
Well, that's Billy Boat in the orange car. This is interesting. Billy did the testing for Goodyear in the yellow car before the race race weekend, and it's amazing. The car's probably started with a very similar setup on it, and Billy's worked his way up from the back and now is a contender.
Well, Billy's best finish this year has been a 6th at Phoenix.
Looking inside.
He had a good run here at Texas.
He's got a great run going right now.
And he's going to take second from Scott Goodyear for the moment, but Goodyear moves alongside him once again. They are wheel to wheel through the corner once again.
Well, this is good stuff, but obviously Billy's got the advantage to follow Cheever, and Goodyear on the outside has nobody to break air for him.
Boat's only victory in the series came here in June of 1998. Right now, he's moved to second position. This is the Team Pelfrey car, not one of the better financed teams, but that's what can happen in this series.
Well, Goodyear got stuck in the outside. He's got to try to get down, or the freight train could go underneath, but you saw Boat try to go to the outside, and he lost some momentum. So that going high is real tricky. If you don't get by, they're going to get the train going underneath you.
Donnie Beechler is in the mix here. However, he is not on the lead lap. We watch this battle down the backstretch as Boat is to the high side of Eddie Cheever, and Scott Goodyear now on the low line may have a battle for second with Boat, and he could take the lead here.
Well, again, if you can't make that pass on the high side, the train is down low. Everybody's staying low, and that's where the draft works the best.
Less than 3 laps to go in the Indy Racing Northern Light Series campaign for the year 2000. We've had a great time this summer bringing you all the racing, and we'll be back to do it again next year. Now Boat begins to fall back just a little bit. He's behind Beechler. And there's a report of rain in turn 2 as Goodyear goes for the lead.
Keep digging inside. Keep going. Keep digging.
That's a tough way around, but it looks like he might get it done. But now the train goes high. The train all went to the outside. This could really help Goodyear. Look how close they are.
Unbelievable as they come down for the white flag. One more lap to go. It could be as close a finish as Scott Sharp and Mcgee in the first race here in June.
Oh, look at this.
Look at Boat.
Boat's going to help Cheever win this race.
Goodyear pulls ahead slightly at the end of the backstretch. Goodyear has the lead as they head for the 4th corner, coming down for the checkered flag. Who will win it in Texas? It's Scott Goodyear.
What a great finish.
Goodyear wins over Cheever, Boat, and Lazier, Buddy Lazier, but Lazier wins the championship. Scott Goodyear did all he could do to win that title, and the thing is, he has given this team a victory as he departs them.
Well, that was a great effort, and Billy Boat actually, because he'd helped with that team and done some of the testing, he went high and helped Goodyear get by Cheever. What a great result.
Here are the unofficial results. Eliseo Salazar finishes 5th, Beechler 6th. Shigeaki Hattori finishes 7th, another top 10 for that young man. Jeff Ward 8th, Calkins finished in 9th position, and Jacques Lazier got in 10th. And here's 11 through 20 as Sarah Fisher finished 2 laps down in the 11th position. Sam Hornish was the first out of the race, and finishing 26th was the pole sitter, Greg Ray, as Scott Goodyear heads for victory lane here at Texas Motor Speedway. And for Goodyear, it is his 3rd career win.
Well, it was just a great finish. I mean, they got closed up there at the end, and they gave us the kind of finish we were looking for, Bob.
If you're just joining us, Scott Goodyear wins the race. Buddy Lazier, by finishing in 4th position, has won the 2000 Indy Racing Northern Light Series Championship. We had 9 races this year and 8 different winners, with the only repeat winner, Buddy Lazier, the champion.
It's a pretty good parting present for that team. You know, it's too bad they've got to separate. It's been a strong team combination, but they're not going to be together next year, Bob.
His last win was here at Texas last year, and now for the first time in the year 2000, he brings home another victory for this team. Scott Goodyear, originally from the Toronto, Ontario area, making his home in Carmel, Indiana, is the winner. Vince?
Scott Goodyear. Scott, congratulations on the win, your 3rd career victory, and what a way to wrap up the season.
Oh, man. That was fun, you know. I had to get past Eddie to obviously get 2nd in the points, and what a great time. We were weaving and bobbing, and a couple of things today on the first couple of laps where Al Jr. got completely sideways in 3. And then Eddie ran me down on the apron into 3 also, so I was just had to wait back for a while and sit back, and then it was time to go.
A terrific finish to your stay here with the Pennzoil Panther Racing Team, your 30th race. What a way to finish your stay with this team.
That's great. It's actually, the guys did a great job today. You know, pit stops were good as usual, and you know, I'm just happy that we got a victory here at the last race, and an exciting one too.
The 2nd time you've won here in Texas, the first win for you this year, but what was going through your mind in that last battle with Cheever?
It's actually, with the battle with Cheever, I knew that Lazier was back, and I knew that he got a good pit. Hey, the old guys preserve, eh?
I didn't have any more. That was it.
That was fun.
You're not supposed to do that.
What a great scene between Eddie Cheever and Scott Goodyear, the winner of the season finale of the Indy Racing Northern Light Series.
And indeed, by finishing ahead of Cheever, Goodyear will finish 2nd in the point standings. Goodyear is the winner of the race. The champion is Buddy Lazier. We'll talk to him in a moment.
There is a new name on the Sterling Silver Northern Light Cup. It says Buddy Lazier. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. You know, this is awesome. Lightning striking, and this is the way we want to win it. It was an awesome race. I mean, a really competitive race. And I was very nervous at the start, but once the race got started, I was just having fun. And my guys, I'm blessed with a great team that really backed me up. My Delta Fawcett, Coors Light, Tybo, Delara, Oldsmobile, and Firestone has been running all year very hard, and these guys have been backing me up. It's a great team, and I'm really happy to bring it home for them.
Buddy, back a couple of years ago in '96, you broke your back. You came back to win the Indy 500. But let me ask you this question. Does this championship validate your career as a driver?
Well, this is a huge championship. It's the Northern Light Cup is over $1 million, but it's worth so much more than that. I mean, it's very valuable, you know, to be IndyCar champion. It's huge.
Congratulations. Bob?
Buddy Lazier wins the cup. Here are the final point standings. Eliseo Salazar moved up 1 to 4th in the point standings. Dismore down 1 in the second 5. Donnie Beechler moved up 2, will finish 6th in the point standings. Billy Boat up 4, and he will finish in the top 10. We have to thank a lot of people for their cooperation and assistance during this season. All the Indy Racing Northern Light Series officials, Tony George, Mary Holman George, and all of the racetrack operators, promoters, and their staffs. There again is a look at the unofficial results of our race here this afternoon at Texas Motor Speedway, won by Scott Goodyear. That does it for the 2000 season. Now, don't forget Monday Night Football, Jacksonville versus Tennessee tomorrow at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. ABC Sports is online at ESPN.com, keyword ABC Sports. All of us here at ABC Sports and ESPN congratulate Buddy Lazier from Vail, Colorado, for achieving another milestone in his illustrious career by winning the Cup here this afternoon at Texas Motor Speedway.